Okay. I'm going to open the meeting in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please, if you would, call the roll.
Sure.
Here,
Jay,
here.
Fiore,
Here.
Barbara and Sue are excused. George?
Here.
I'm here. Mark?
Here.
Carol?
Here.
Ruth Ann?
Here.
Shane?
Here.
And I see we have a visitor?
Wayne Hoffman.
Wayne. Welcome, Wayne.
Okay, please look at the minutes for the June 14th meeting. As you know, we didn't have the July meeting. Does anybody have any corrections or additions?
I just have a comment. You know, I reread them, and item number 9, the last sentence where it says Jay stated the commission does not inform homeowners of the program, that kind of sounds not the way I meant it to sound. I think maybe it should be does not publicize the program or doesn't seek out candidates
Yes,
for
does
the
not.
program.
Yeah, we don't
Right.
publicize the program.
Right, so I will make,
Change that to does not publicize.
Publicize.
Publicize the program.
right. So, sorry about that.
We're going to be talking about that today, the 50/50
Okay.
program, anyhow, all right. And a lot of that's accomplished in item 7 anyhow. Okay, does anybody have any other additions or corrections to the Tuesday minutes other than the one correction suggested by Carol? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as corrected
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
and seconded by George. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right.
Do we have any extra? I can get me one.
There's,
Yeah, that's all right. We'll take your comments.
Thank you.
Yes, can we, Mr. Hoffman, right?
Yes, Wayne. Oh, thank you.
What can we do for you?
I'm just here, I'm the chair of the Shade Tree West Cape May, and
Oh,
We were gonna be
I didn't
discussing the
recognize you. Yeah, we'd be,
That's
what's
what
your,
the,
there you go, okay.
I have more hair on it. But, I got, stuff that we're doing, and the ordinances, and
Oh, okay. I didn't recognize you sitting down. Usually you're up moving around. Okay. Some administrative stuff. Nancy has requested $239 for a 3-drawer filing cabinet. Anybody have any comments or objections to that?
No.
This is for the shade tree? Okay, are we in agreement to allow her to do that? Okay.
Yep.
it gotta be like fire rated or anything?
Yeah, this is coming out of the dues and subscription money or something. It'll be transferred then for supplies.
I mean, does that have to be like a fireproof cabinet or anything?
Pardon?
Does that have to be like a fireproof cabinet or anything?
Oh, I have no idea. Does it say fireproof on here?
No, I'm just thinking out loud.
Usually when there's a fire, most of the commissions that I know go and throw a bunch of files into it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go right into, the discussion for changes to the shade tree ordinance. So let Mr. Hoffman have his say. Does everybody's had a chance to look at the ordinance for West Cape May that Shane provided us last meeting, or in June meeting. So we've had July and so far in August to look at this stuff. I looked at this, and there's some things I think we can use. They do things a little different as far as having the code enforcement use thing. We have a code enforcement officers that write the summons on violations and whatnot. And I think you used the zoning.
Well, there is a code enforcement person in the zoning department now, and,
So
2 weeks ago, I was hired as the deputy.
you were what, hired? Okay, so you're getting paid, right?
Yeah, like, yes,
Mr. Schatz, should we invite him to the table and also to use a microphone?
Yeah, you guys can come up a little closer.
Yeah, we'll say
Make sure the button's on, is it? Yes, there you go.
testing. My name is Wayne Hoffman. I'm the chair of Shade Tree in West Cape May, 408 4th Avenue in West Cape May.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, we have found the biggest problem has been enforcement. And I don't want to blame the contractors, but it mainly has been contractors, and this is 10 or so years ago, came in, clear-cut a property, and then begged for forgiveness later, and there was no follow-up. So that's basically been our job to attempt to follow up infractions. Matter of fact, that's why Rhiannon, who's now the enforcement officer of West Cape May, she and I are working together. We have allowed approximately 80 trees a year to be cut down in West Cape May over the last 3 years. No one has checked whether there has been a replacement for any of those trees. So a week and a half ago, my wife and I began emailing everyone from 2019, we're up to 2020. Have they, one, that we know they removed the tree, but two, have they replaced it, yes or no? And if so, we want to have pictures. So they will send them to us, and we're interesting enough, about 1/3 of people have replaced the trees. I didn't think that was going to be that high, but they have. 2/3 have not responded, which says to me they haven't replaced them. But if they have not replaced them by September 30th, they will be cited. And I don't know what the fine is and all that, but Rhiannon will then write them an email. You've been given a chance to replace the trees. We are also going to go out and look at the trees that they say they have planted, because they must be the species. I think there may be 8 or 10 species on the list, and they have to be 2 inches in caliber at 4.5 feet breast high.
If they use root ball trees, or trees coming in root ball, they normally measure the caliper at the root ball, not because these are smaller trees and not 4.5 feet up.
Correct. We've been lenient with that. We go out, we look at a tree, if we feel, they tried to plant one, but if they plant something,
That tall.
a number of the contractors, they planted them this high and that big around. We said, doesn't count. And crepe myrtle doesn't count. Arborvitae don't count. Leyland cypress don't count. So there's a list of trees that we require them to place. So again, the enforcement has the most difficult thing. Before contractors now receive their CO, they have to prove that they have planted X number of trees.
Or planted them according to their, when they submit a building plan.
Correct.
Usually there's a landscape plan involved with that.
That is correct. And if the landscape plan has, let's say, 7 trees on it, and they've taken down, let's say, 12 trees, By matter of fact, the one property at 200 block of 4th Avenue, that property owes us 20 trees. They can't place that many there. So they can plant 14. We now have a tree bank where they can now,
Is it a tree bank or a dollar fund?
well, both. It's a tree bank where 6 trees, they owe us 6 trees, 6 times $400. They write us the check for
You have
$2,400.
a number placed on it.
That is correct, and it goes into a fund. And trees don't care where they're planted. We can plant them anywhere. And we continually say, right tree in the right place. Like, these sycamores are great and they're beautiful, but, oh, they're under wires and,
Right.
but they were planted, so many years ago. So that's been the issue, and we actually were called out. It's unfortunate. 120 Eldridge, which was a spectacular lot, had 18 trees that they took down. There were cedars this big.
Yeah.
They were in the footprint, within 6 feet of the footprint. We don't have any jurisdiction on those. That's zoning. So they had to they took all those trees down, and there's one tree remaining, I forget what type of cypress it is. But anyway, they owe us 20 trees for the property. We don't know if they'll be able to fit them in.
If they put a certain number of trees in, that's 20 minus the number of trees they can put in the property, and the rest is $400 a tree.
Correct. And our formula is, if they take down a tree within the footprint, they owe us 1 tree for that.
Even within the footprint. See, our ordinance is if it's in the footprint of the house,
Right.
the driveway, or the outbuilding, that's,
Yeah, we kind of figure the canopy, they've taken away canopy, so let's plant them somewhere. And the tree, matter of fact, my backdoor neighbor, Frank, did not want to plant a tree on his property. He's got a lot of trees. I think we got our first check for the tree bank, which was, tree bank was established about 6 months ago, and it's taken a while for people to understand the contractor. So, but probably 2 other properties, we are going to have checks written to us to go into the bank. But the biggest thing is the enforcement thing, making sure that contractors don't get the CO until they've done their, the landscaping plan, et cetera.
Did you by any chance have a chance to send to a lot of the contractors that work the area? There's not
Right.
thousands of contractors. There's maybe a dozen
Right.
that work this area. Have you sent them a copy of the West Cape May Tree Ordinance?
Yep, 2 years ago, we sent out it to, matter of fact, certified to contractors.
Certified.
Pool people also, because pool people come in and they don't get that they can't dig a 3-foot deep trench 2 feet from a cedar tree that big. They got, cut roots. Just 2 days ago, I went out on 2nd and Atlantic. They're putting in the water piping for the 3 homes that went in there. And I gave them specific instructions, stay tight to the street. And I had actually, I shouldn't say this, but Ron Minier out there with me, only because he was in Borough Hall. But Ron Minier was out there with me, and he said, as long as they stay this close to it, it won't affect the trees. So if you were the tree, they were about that far away, and I was worried about, you start cutting roots, that's the
Right.
problem. And they were very diligent about that.
Did they cut roots or did they burrow underneath?
No, they did not burrow underneath. They went down 2 feet and changed with a big trench.
Okay.
So the gas was there and other lines were there too.
Okay.
But I'm finding it was an adversarial position 5-6 years ago. I think the builders kind of not like me now because they call me and, Wayne, what am I doing wrong? What do I have to do? So you just have to really work with them because they're a different breed. And I got to make this is on on record. They've been allowed to get away with anything. There haven't
Yeah,
been any.
we're getting in East Cape May or even in Cape May now, we've got some of the contractors that clear cut.
Yep.
They go in, they wipe everything down, and if it's not within the footprint of the house, the driveway.
Right.
Or the outbuilding, they need a permit to take it down. If it's 6 inches or more in diameter, measured 4.5 feet.
Yeah, ours is 3 inches,
Yours is
which
3
is,
inches. That's something we might want to consider. What?
that's
Thought we had considered it, and I thought we wanted to stick with the 6.
3 inch, in my opinion, is kind of tight. That's
is kinda small.
It's kind of small, but
Yeah.
that's the law you kind of permit. We had,
Yeah, you have to get some number someplace.
Yeah.
So we necked it down from 8 inches that we had for years. We brought it down to 6 inches 2 years ago.
right,
That seems, I haven't seen it make any difference because the people that come in they're clear cut everything, you know, so.
I got a chainsaw goes off in West Cape May, I get a phone call.
Yes.
And I go out.
Oh,
and
I do.
We had 2 last week that they cut down trees. I said, are you licensed in the state of New Jersey? No. Well, you have to be. And that tree is X number of, and do you have a permit? No. You can't
Yes,
do that.
the licensing in Cape May and West Cape May, the tree
Experts.
trimming, or tree experts, arborists and whatnot, do have to get a license for Cape May and West Cape May.
But we don't,
But that's Nancy, call to Nancy, and she gives them the information they need to provide, and has been very cooperative.
but that's not on our application. The city of Cape May's application does not request their New Jersey licensed tree care operator number.
Yeah,
West Cape May
that's on
does.
there. And we also just put new wording on it that the homeowner has spoken with the tree care operator because, I mean, Matt's here. Matt's name showed up on 3 applications in the last month.
Right.
Had never talked to them. You know, so he gets approved, we say yes. The homeowner then gets XYZ company to cut it down. We don't, you know, we don't know that. So we tried to,
Have them
kind of-
on the permit, have
Get-
the operator that's going to do the job.
yep, you talk to them. So, what else? Planning board, which is interesting. This just started 4 weeks ago. I now get the plans from planning board
Yes.
at the get-go. So I have looked down at 3 sets of plans. One's from Curtis Bashaw. I'm going to say no. No, I'm kidding. But I look at the plans now and say, the first one went out, there weren't any trees an issue. The second one, same thing. The third one, there's a swimming pool that might take out 2 really nice trees. And it looks to me like the swimming pool could go over there about 15 feet.
We had the same situation recently on South Broadway. in
I went
Cape
by,
May.
big tree, right? Yeah,
Big tree.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a beautiful property, has a big side yard, and then we're gonna do additions to the porch and take some of the trees down because they weren't gonna use pilings for the porch. They had to dig a trench and put footings in for the porch. That was, you know, there wasn't very much other than bushes
Right.
involved with that. But the pool had this great big double-trunked
Cedar.
cedar tree.
Cedar, right in the middle of it.
And George, the district commissioner, said, no, move the pool. And they said, we can't move the pool. He said, yeah, you can move the pool. We got plenty of room over to move the pool. So we had a long, drawn-out thing. We had our commissions, our decisions are ultimately reviewed by the city manager. Okay? That's who we report to. We had a meeting with the city attorney, the city manager, their arborist, their attorney, their architect, and the owner.
And the landscape.
Pardon?
And the landscaping contractor.
And the landscaping contractor, and basically, we had to let them take the tree down. But they're gonna put in along the driveway on the south side of the property close to the ocean, they're gonna put in around, 7 or 8 trees in there, and we asked them to put in 1 or 2 non-deciduous trees, 1 or 2 fir trees in there to provide some winter habitat for Tweety birds and
Right.
stuff.
Well, that's great you're getting 7 because that one property, 120 Eldridge, I mean, almost every tree was
Yeah,
that
you-
big. We're going to get 20
And we're gonna
trees
get
this
something
big.
that big to replace something like.
20 years
that.
from now, it might be okay, but biggest thing is enforcement. You know,
Well-
somebody does something,
Well,
you got to.
one thing about this meeting that we had with all the players involved and stuff like this is, we made it a point that we don't get to set of plans unless they go for a variance, the zoning board or planning board.
Right.
And I want to see, and I think now hopefully we're going to get to see every plan
I think
when that comes in, every plan that comes in.
Every application for West Cape May has a plan attached to it as well.
Has what?
Every application for tree removal in West Cape May, they ask to have a drawing with it. So when, and it says specifically here, it's so that the shade tree commissioner can go to your property and see exactly where and what tree is being talked about.
Yes.
And that also gives a record when you go inspect again and notice that there's trees that have been removed that wasn't part of the plan. You know, this is just a record that we should also, or another thing we should add to this application.
Yeah, pools are difficult. West Cape May, they're considered a structure. And if a tree's in the middle of the pool, that's zoning. That's their decision. So it's great that we're getting the plans beforehand, and we can talk, we can be proactive to planning and zoning and saying, hey, can you not have a pool or a smaller pool or move the pool here or there, or?
Well, that was one of the issues with Broadway, because everybody got the plans, and we had no idea about anything. We were the last ones to see anything. They had gotten the green light from HPC, and that was my point that I brought up to the city manager. One commission can't supersede the other. Like, you've got to work hand in hand. They don't have, there's not a hierarchy.
Uh-huh.
So they're just a commission, just like the Shade Tree Commission is. And everybody should be, like you said, see the plans at the same
Right.
time before other decisions are made and approved.
Yeah.
Because with that plan, with them allowing them to put this addition onto the house, even if we'd left that tree there, if we'd have won that part, about 2/3 to 3/4 of the canopy would have to be removed for them to put that addition on. So the tree would have been
Right.
highly compromised anyway.
And I understand people want the big houses and the pools, and, you know, I get it, and it's a
Well-
great place to be, but,
Yeah.
A lot of it is, the fact that people are renting whole houses.
right,
I have a B&B. When we started 25 years ago, there were probably 75 B&Bs in town. If they are still existing as building, which most of them are, they're either private property or they're whole house
right.
rentals. And this rental, you see, when these plans come in, there's two things that they're trying to do to get people to rent their house. They're putting pools in the backyard that are awfully small. They're putting pavers all around the thing. And there's one driveway, and there's another little pad that just goes in the front lawn over on the side. You're basically taking away all the area where a tree can grow.
And again, I get it, we're late to the party, we bought it 14 years ago, moved down here full-time 3 years ago. We have about a half an acre property. We have 88 trees on our property. We were very careful what we took down, and those cedars, when we had those 2 snowstorms, oh my, I was crying, they were breaking all the branches off. I was out there in the middle of the snow and knocking them off. Anyway, it's difficult, it's hard, people, the cartoon.
The Star and Way last.
Oh, I'm getting a T-shirt made up. I call it Jack. Am I allowed to get a T-shirt with that thing on it?
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's funny and it's sad.
Well,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep, but, so, I don't know, anything else? I know that the taxpayers, I believe, of Cape May are now gonna go to the mayor and talk about moratorium on swimming pools. I saw that in the Star and Waves.
Cape May Point is doing that too.
I heard that pools are banned in Cape.
Yeah, I think they're doing it mainly because of the water.
Right.
The water shortage, our water situation.
Well, they said they also had one pool that leached out into the lake.
Yeah, that's what did it.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. It's interesting there, because Cape May Point, they have 6 swimming pools in all of Cape May Point.
They had what?
6 swimming pools.
Okay.
West Cape May, 22 went in the last 2 years.
Wow.
Little West Cape May. Yeah, it's like, there are 4 on my block.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's one in my block that they had to pull without a permit right up against the deck. You could jump off the deck into the pool, which probably would have happened. And I think they got a stop work order on that, so their solution was they took the deck down. Now, I live 2 doors down from it, and that's a rental house.
Right.
Every renter in that house used that deck every night. And now, sliding door opens up to nothing. I mean, they basically have to have a door off the kitchen, doesn't go anywhere. They have to block it off to be able to put the pool in there. But they got a pool
We
in.
digress in the pools, but, it's, we wrote a letter to the commissioners a month ago, Shade Tree, and we weren't saying we were for or against, but it's a problem. We took down 26 trees, either were taken down or died in the last 2 years because of putting pools in. And now, most of those trees cannot be planted on those properties because there's no space for them. So now they have to be planted somewhere else. And what do you do with it displaces the water, and anyway.
Can you talk about your, what is it, your tree
Bank?
replacement program? Because we don't have one in Cape May.
No, we don't have it.
And I was thinking, we have a fee that's higher than West Cape May, an application fee, which is higher than yours. And I was thinking, if we were to promote replacing that tree, I mean, why not knock down the application fee, you know? I just think that
From
it'd be a good
75,
opportunity from 75 to maybe 50 if you're gonna replace it. I just,
but have them kick in a replacement.
Credit.
yeah.
And right now, it's
Replacement
like
credit.
$400. And I can, is $400 a good,
Yeah, usually the trees, well, to purchase, some of them are 250, 300,
and
but then you gotta
planting?
plant.
I'm curious, who follows up once you allow, you say, yes, you may take a tree down, and now it's a year later? Because in West Cape May, you have
I
to,
mean, to see if they replaced it?
Yeah, did
We
they-
don't have a replacement clause. So
Yeah.
that's a problem.
they give you their word, they're gonna
Sometimes
do
we
it.
request that they replace it, and
Right.
sometimes they say they're going to replace it, but no one follows up.
Oh, it's on our application, we have it, are you going to replace it? And if they say no, our arborist comes in and says they must replace it, and either 1 for 1 or 2 for 1, and we designate small, medium, large, based on what he believes.
So that's an absolute requirement. That tree is not coming down unless it's being replaced.
That's correct, and they refuse, no, then you can't take it down.
And then the only other exception is if it goes to the zoning board.
Well, if
for
it's
some kind of-
outside of zoning, within the 6 feet of the envelope,
Right,
there's
yeah.
no jurisdiction, that's all shade tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we should add that, too,
Yeah, that's a great
What's that, George?
replacement.
the replacement clause and the tree bank.
Oh, also, the 3 strikes you're out, I think that's a good
I
one.
like
We-
that.
We just implemented that,
Three strikes are out in a,
you do a violation, so,
yes, in a how long a period?
5-year period.
In a 5-year period.
Yeah.
And
Is that
they-
for contractors?
and the
That's everybody.
They
But
can pull the contractor's tree trimmer or contractor's license, whatever.
they can no longer do business in West Cape May.
5 years.
Yep, for 5 years then,
For 5 years.
correct. And there are a number of people who have been habitual offenders. One in particular, he was 1 violation. He has been pristine, crystal clear, clean for the last 8, 9 months. That's cool. Yeah, Right, yeah, hit a pocketbook.
Not talking about clear-cut Larry, are you?
I'm not going to say.
All right.
So how do we get this put in place then? Do we just vote
We
on it?
write, no, we write up, take our ordinance, take what we want out of here, change we make, write it up, give it to the lawyer, give it to the city attorney. He writes up a proposal for a change to our ordinance. It goes before city council.
Yeah, Chris
when did we
Gilmore
do
was
that?
our solicitor, and 3 fellows got together, and we went through, there's a pamphlet from the tree experts, goes through how to build an ordinance. And we went through item by item by item, and we gave Chris 21 pages of changes.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what he said. What?
It doesn't look like that in the ordinance.
Well, he chopped it down, he said, this is important, this is important. We put definitions in there, what's an arborist, what's a tree?
What's a dangerous situation?
Yep. That's another thing, too, emergencies. If there's an emergency, an executive member of Shade Tree has the authorization to say, take the tree
Well,
down.
here it's, if it's a tree, street tree now, street tree, blown over like in a storm or something like that, usually Public Works checks with me, calls me first,
Right.
then goes out and takes the tree off the right of way or off the property, and takes it down.
Yeah, we can do that on private property. If we see a tree that's dangerous tree, we can.
Okay, I don't think Public Works will go onto private
No,
property.
no, they-
Unless it falls across the right of way or a sidewalk.
Right.
Because I had that in one of the storms, it has to be on this.
Pardon?
It has to
I know
be
you're
on
right.
the
What else?
sidewalk.
Did I hit everything important? I don't know.
I just like to talk about the application a little more. I just think the things that we need to add to the application is the license of the tree remover, the professional. I'd like to have an option to say, are you replacing this tree and with what? And to say that if you are, we will make discount, the application fee. And the last thing I saw in the application that I think is very important is the fact that there has to be some kind of sketch attached to the application that shows you where the trees are on the property. I just think it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
need a description.
I think, just a little point is, if you're gonna have replacement trees, we should make some kind of a recommendation on what trees can be planted, that they can select from.
Well, that's exactly, and I think that should be part of the process too, is saying like, this tree does not fit the community, or, this tree would do better here.
I mean, up at Cape Rock, they lost, I don't know, what was it, 7 pine trees?
Pine trees, yeah.
Needle blight, right? What do they plant?
Arborvitae.
No, they plant pine trees again. 3 of them are dead so far.
But
Same
we-
thing.
We have a list, large, medium, small trees. This is the approved list from West Cape May that people can select from. I'd be, if you want to, my suggestion would be, take it what's worth, break it into like 3 people, get together with a subcommittee, if you will. I'd be happy to sit with you and just go over the ordinances, what I think's important, and you can listen to me or not. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't have a life.
Some of the stuff I think is a little tedious, but there's some really good ideas on the,
It is, like I said, we spent 6 months going through, it was drudgery, but we got a pretty strong ordinance, and like I said, again, kind of going back to enforcement.
well, we've been talking about this for more than 6 months, but this is as far as we've gotten so far. So this is at least some progress on the thing.
But we actually have to come up with a time that we're going to meet and do something
that's
about it.
true.
Well, if you do a subcommittee, you meet whenever you want
Well-
to come up with this.
Who would like to be on a subcommittee? I mean, I think if we're going to do this, we have to start it.
I'd be happy to participate.
I'll do it.
There you go, there's 3, that's great. 3's enough.
I'll do it.
Carol?
Okay. Okay.
I just wanted to say, I did get a list of trees that you approved from your commission.
Okay.
And that should be on our website. And
Let
this
the record
George,
show
I
to be
mean,
a
we did this.
subcommittee.
Yeah.
changing
Long
this
time
ordinance.
ago.
George
Yeah.
Hatar, Sean Meyer,
You and
and,
Carol.
and me.
And Carol.
And who?
Carol, didn't
Oh,
you raise your hand
Carol, okay.
about the subcommittee? Yeah.
Ooh, could you repeat yourself, Carol?
Oh, okay. We have a list that I got from the West Cape May Shade Tree Commission of trees that are suitable to be planted in this area. So anybody that is supposed to be replacing a tree could look at that list. It's supposed to be on our website. I think it is. I think I
On the
checked that.
website, I don't know.
There's a pretty big to-do also about native trees and non-native trees. Temperature change and stuff that's happening, more and more that I read about, you want to plant trees that are going to do well, feed the birds, et cetera, and not get sick. And so there are a lot of trees now, some of the magnolias. They-
At the last shade tree, whatever, commission thing up in Cherry Hill. It was a head forester from Harvard University of all places. And he said, there ain't no such thing as a non-native tree. If you plant a tree and it does well,
Yeah.
it's a native tree.
It's native.
You know, and it doesn't drop poison apples or something like this and kill widows and children. It's a native tree.
Like kudzu.
So there are there are invasive species, but there are no non-native trees.
Yeah, one interesting one, a
Pardon?
red Taylor cedar. It's a cultivar of red cedars, but it only grows 4 feet wide, 15 to 20 feet high. It is perfect to replace arborvitae and Leyland cypress.
Ooh, what was that, a red tail?
Taylor red cedar. Now, again, it's not native, it's a cedar, it's got berries for the birds. So if you're going to plant arborvitae, Leyland cypress as opposed to that, that's a much better selection.
Yeah, and where do you get it? Southern Ethiopia.
Northern Georgia. No,
Pardon?
I don't know.
Northern Ethiopia, yeah. See, well, obviously, we want to get all these trees, and you go to the places within reasonably delivery driving distance down
Right.
here. And they, we don't know what you're talking about.
Landscape architect for Rick Burke at 120 Eldridge, she is getting those trees. So
Okay.
I don't know, I'll try to find out where she's getting them from. and,
Okay.
I'll let you know.
You know, there's a new thing that I've seen around town, and we see them right at
we have.
Star of the Sea.
But is that-
That's these single-stem crepe myrtles.
Is that the list that has some trees?
It's like your perfect little lollipop tree to put under power lines. One stem, lot of growth, has flowers.
It's right across the, there's a couple right across the Acme, white ones. Yeah, one stem and.
Yeah, by the Star of the Sea.
Yeah, right,
There's a whole
okay.
line of them.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
neighbor's got a whole line of them, too.
What kind of tree?
Crepe myrtle.
Single
The
stem
single trunk.
myrtle.
It's single trunk, yeah, the Catholic Church here has them along Ocean Street, and they're beautiful.
I didn't know the name of the Star of the
They
Sea.
take
I'm not Catholic, so
Yeah, you're from that faraway West Cape May area, right?
we're out there.
Yeah, I don't think they have any religion. I think they're pagans.
This is,
They do have one
you should hear
pool.
what they say about
Jersey
you.
trees, because some of
They
these
do have
don't
one
do well.
pool inside the Wilbraham
Well,
Mansion
Well,
that
the
doesn't
ones
bother
what
any
we
trees.
circled were ones that were recommended.
This is my nap time.
Okay, we've got a subcommittee, Shane, George, Carol, and me,
And Jay,
and who?
You.
You, Matt, and me, 1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
And we'll get together and piece
Okay.
together this thing and,
And if you want me there, it's up to you, call me. And if you don't
Okay.
call me, I don't mind.
all right, okay.
You know, we could add something, you know. You've got a lot of people that don't understand what a tree does to reproduce, right? It drops one little whirligig from a maple or whatever, or a little burdock, and they say it's a dirty tree, right? Hit them with some facts, like what does an acre of forest produce? Well, it takes in about, what, 6 tons of carbon dioxide, produces water, and 2 tons of oxygen.
Yeah,
They gotta realize that trees do some good, you know?
Cool our earth.
There's an interesting article I cut out about a year ago. I should get it to you guys. It's fascinating. This woman did a study on it, injected, I don't know what it was, into roots of a tree, and she calls it the mother tree, so the big one in a forest. Within 15 minutes, trees 30 feet away had that in their roots. It just, trees talk to one another. You know the Avatar?
Yeah.
That's not far-fetched. They really do. They communicate.
talk to each, yes.
Yeah, I do. Wasps, wasps love a particular tree leaves, and they played the sound of the wasps close to the tree, and it started to produce toxics in the leaves. They got louder and louder, it then became deadly. If one of those wasps ate that stuff, so trees, I think, are maybe got a little more on the ball than we do sometimes. We're locusts, we just cut them down.
Oh, my goodness.
You seen that recent show on TV, Green Planet,
Yes.
with
Yep.
Attenborough?
Yeah.
Loaded with all kinds of things like that.
Cut all the trees down, guess what happens to us? We die. It's over.
Well, I
On that note,
I picked up these at West Cape May Borough Hall, but I thought if we could get stacks of these and have them go out to any new homeowners, anybody doing construction, anybody doing whatever they do,
Right. Maybe.
whenever they
yeah.
come in for, like, to zoning or whatever, their, benefits of trees, why hire an arborist, mature care, invasives.
Did you find out where Westgate May got those?
No, do you know where West Cape May got these?
in my basement. No, I don't know where we get them from, but we just will be starting this month, first time, sending out brochures with the permits. My wife's the secretary, so she types up an acceptance, denial letter, and exactly when, I guess they have to replace the tree within 1 year, and we're going to start to include a brochure about trees and how to plant them. Yeah, people, they don't know how to plant trees, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let me ask you
dig a hole.
a question. Do you do any spraying or inoculating of any of the trees?
I do not, but we have, Matt Notch does some for us. Also, Mickey Reagan, he does some. Matter of fact, Mickey's going to be doing the entire Wilbraham Park.
What, assessment of the trees, or?
Yeah, he assessed them already, and he has a plan to, I don't know what, inoculate, dust. There's a couple of trees that are a little sick, also to fertilize.
Yeah,
the
because you
tree.
got some eastern buckeye trees in there, which are unusual for here in Wilbraham Park.
Most of the trees in there are not native to West Cape Bay, the vast majority. I had wanted to plant a big leaf magnolia, which George had gotten, and I got voted down, so that's in my backyard now. It's beautiful.
And that, to me, made no sense, because they are from the United States, and they just planted the cherries from China.
Yeah,
So,
that was probably my fault, because the big sycamore is gonna die in the next 3 years or so, and we needed a hole, and let's put it there.
Yeah.
So,
they don't last long anyway, those cherries.
20 years, maybe, yeah.
Couple of 100 years.
They were free, though. Atlantic City Electric, that was great. They gave us 20 of them, so, which was nice. So that's another thing. If you want free trees, Ronnie Bounds, I think their name is, Atlantic City Electric, yeah.
Ronnie Towns.
Pardon me?
Ronnie Towns.
Downs, yes.
Towns.
Downs?
Yep.
Towns.
Charles Bounds is,
He's in charge of that big project that we're putting in the transformers. They're making it look like a building there.
Yeah,
it looks better than most.
it does.
Absolutely.
Because I think, a lot of the trees that we have, not so much the big trees, the replacement trees, You look at them and, you know, they're doing okay, and all of a sudden, it's like the main stem dies,
Right.
and you got suckers coming out. And it looks so awful, you think, is it gonna die or not, you know?
You have to maintain them, you have to water them. The 20 trees that we planted, twice a week, I'm out there with those gator bags. I don't know if you've seen those green bags.
have,
Yeah, 15 gallon each one of them. Takes me 3 hours
Wow.
to do all that stuff. So it's a commitment, but only one has died. The same one that died last year, right next to.
But we had planted the red flowering horse chestnut. We had two. One's in front of the Macedonia Baptist Church on Lafayette Street, and the other one is in front of Jersey Cape Realty on Washington Street. That was beautiful. That was nicer than the other one. And it bloomed this year, and as soon as it finished blooming, the whole thing just died. It was like within a few days. I don't even know what kind of blight or whatever got it, but it was gone, and it was doing so well. I
It's-
thought for sure we could get more
Well,
of
You
those.
cut it down, six sassafras trees in a grouping. They've been great for 14 years.
Yeah.
The one this year woke up and not a leaf on it.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what grows around here and is a nuisance?
Poison ivy?
No, hackberry.
Yes, yeah.
Hackberry trees.
Yeah.
They're in every little hedge, they grow all over the place.
I
Birds
love
like.
those trees. I have
Birds like 'em. I got a monster in my back by my parking lot.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
I've taken up a lot of your time. You got a lot of stuff to do, so.
Thank you, Wayne.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
And you're more than welcome to give my phone number out to anybody. Anybody can call me. I'm very accessible. Chainsaw goes off in West Cape May, I got a phone call. I do. 9:30 at night, 3 days ago. 9:30.
All right, thank you, Wayne.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
We have,
Maybe you're right.
where is it? The leaning, 405 Madison Avenue. The leaning cedar tree. I assume everyone's had a chance to look at that. Okay, open the floor for comments on that.
Anybody want to look at it?
There's got the,
Got it. I didn't. I wasn't at the last meeting.
There's a whole bunch of pictures of that tree from many different angles.
Yeah. That's really lean.
That tree, 2 feet away from the curb, measured straight up, is 51 inches. 3 feet, it's 70 inches. 4 foot, it's 88 inches. And what's a box truck? 102 inches.
I ride by it every day.
Yeah,
pardon?
Oh, I ride by it every day on my.
you're just your average box truck, you know, and they're the ones that usually are hitting the trees.
But Mark, as I had said before, living there for 18 years, we've seen only 3 trucks parked in front of Ryder's house. So I don't think that's a,
All right, there's 1 scar at 3 feet, there's 3 scars at 4 feet.
but the tree is healthy.
I'm just
I know.
saying what I've seen.
Yeah,
It's
well,
evident.
obviously, I don't see the same thing you see.
No, it's, if you're not, walking on the sidewalk, there's no problem with that
huggers
tree.
and
If you're
forests.
on the street riding a fourplex bicycle or something like that, coming by the tree, and you're not paying, you're in the bike lane, you might, come
My
close.
husband rode his bike on the bike lane and on the parking part, and the tree doesn't hit the person on the bike.
Or hit the
Mark-
top of a
Mark's at the
fourplex.
top of a golf cart, it hits.
Okay. They're a
On the
little
top of a
higher.
car, it'll hit the top of a car.
Right. But the car shouldn't be in the bike lane anyhow.
What's the parking lot?
No, where, if it parks on the street,
Oh,
it'll hit the, you're right.
I'm talking about driving, because there's
Yeah.
very few people.
No, driving, it's not, yeah.
Park in that
Yeah,
thing.
well,
Well,
I had
but-
suggested that there's a couple branches on the tree that could possibly be cut off.
cut off.
And then it wouldn't scrape any cars that would park under there. But honestly, there's hardly, never any cars parked in front of Ryder's house.
Then just say, why wouldn't you just move the car a little further down and not park underneath it?
No.
I mean,
Yeah, that's pretty
not a
close.
street, that's
That's
just
pretty
gravel.
close. That's pretty close to the corner anyhow.
Yeah.
Of the South Cape Avenue. All right, does anybody else have any other comments? I'll call for a vote. I vote to save the tree.
I vote to save the tree.
And we'll trim it up?
What?
With trimming
With
it?
trimming it,
Just
yep.
trimming it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Trim it?
I'm
Trim
always
it.
for saving them.
And Barbara Preminger votes to take it down.
I vote to take it down.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
the trimming,
tree
the trimming of that healthy cedar tree is approved.
Okay, there's just two, should I like tie a ribbon around the branches that you?
Well, you can if you want, but I think that
They'll know
Manir
what-
can,
Okay.
we can figure
They'll
that
know what
out.
to cut, okay.
Okay.
No, it's just,
No,
we're determining whether this tree is safe or not.
it projects out to them.
Oh, sure.
Fifth and Pacific
Oh, yeah,
is like that.
there's two of them like that.
The homeowner did not want to take it down. We kind of did, and that one out there trimmed it in a really severe hard cut.
Yeah.
It looks,
It looks like it's sustained those cuts and it's doing all right.
It's, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the what?
Yeah, Kathy Ryder.
Yeah, it's,
now look at the top
Beautiful flowers in the spring. And those
Okay.
trees, they can stand straight up when they hit.
can we talk about 1302 Texas Avenue? Are we in new business?
No, we're
No,
on,
not
yeah,
yet,
new
okay.
business. 1302 Texas Avenue, yeah.
Don't release.
All right, bye-bye, Wayne. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Wayne, see ya.
I got another meeting tonight.
You know, fun times.
All right, 1302 Texas Avenue.
Right. Okay, so there's a pine tree on the front lawn, which they asked to have it removed. They said it was dead and diseased, and as far as I can tell, it's not. And so I denied the request, and then a while later, the owner came back and said, would I reconsider, because he wants to do landscaping. Nothing about the tree being dead or diseased, just he wants to update landscaping. And I just don't think the tree should come down. I don't see any reason. I mean, it's maybe not the prettiest tree, but it looks okay.
We
So
talked about this,
I
at least,
just didn't know what to do.
I spoke with Jay about this. If you look, we take a lot of trees down, and as we just were talking, you put new trees in. Those trees aren't gonna be anything significant in most of our lifetime. So, in my opinion, and what happens in our commission is we have, each commissioner makes that, decision when you go to look at a tree. But then we have, me denying a tree, and I'm one person up against, these who want to take it down, the homeowners and the builders and the contractors and whatnot. And then we have other people that go out and look at a tree and, I'm not even talking about it now, but in the past it's happened, approved, and they said they're gonna, replace it. Well, they cut down a 75-year-old oak, and they were gonna put in a crepe myrtle instead. But that commissioner made that decision. In my opinion, I think we should all voice, the district commissioner should go and make an initial assessment. But I think before a decision is made to take down any kind of significant tree, I think it should come up for a panel vote, a majority vote. Because then it takes the onus off the individual person too.
Yeah, I
That's a
agree.
good idea.
And I think
So-
maybe that way we wouldn't lose it.
Should
Well,
that-
if you want to, if you want to bring it to, the full committee, that's one thing, but you have the authority as the commissioner to say no.
And I did, and I'm just wondering whether that's the
Just
right
that-
decision.
you
I
just
mean, it's on their property.
Ask
It's
them
not-
reasonably to landscape around the tree.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a street tree, it's on the property, and I can understand the homeowner, but it seemed to me that, he first was saying it was dead and diseased, which it's not. So, I don't know,
That's one of the starts they usually come at.
I mean, it's
Somehow.
easy when the tree is on its way out.
Yeah, yeah. What were you gonna say, Carol?
What you said about a panel,
Right.
I think that is a very good idea. Maybe that should be part of our new plan, or whatever we're
Yeah, I
doing.
think so too.
And I don't know whether anyone wants to drive by and take a look at the tree.
Well, I could do that.
On my way home anyway.
1302.
It's right over by Fury. Do you know which one it is? It's Dr. Drake's?
Drake's.
Yeah, yeah. It's a nice-looking tree. It's got a nice shape to it. It's some kind of evergreen.
Dr. Drake's old?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just had it all re-landscaped
This is 1302 Texas Avenue, right?
across the street from the wow.
Dr. Drake's old office?
And what kind of tree is it?
It's an evergreen.
Cedar?
No, I don't think
Pine?
it's a cedar. It's some kind of pine, I think. I mean, you can't miss it when you look at the house. It's right on the left-hand side of the
On
property.
that 405 thing at Madison, now are you gonna forget about putting those reflectors on
Yes.
it?
No, I'm not going to put
No
reflectors on.
reflectors.
I think legally, if we put reflectors on a tree,
I agree.
it'll call attention to the tree being a hazard. And I don't want to call attention to the tree being a hazard.
Okay.
But we'll just trim the couple of the lower branches off, and I think we'll be all right. All right, 50/50 program. Well, let's talk about 1312 Ohio Avenue before. Here it is.
Who is this letter from? It's got the City of Cape May letterhead on it. Who's writing this letter?
Which one?
One with the City of Cape May letterhead, it's about the reimbursement for the sidewalk.
Oh, 1312 Ohio?
No.
This,
Yeah,
who wrote that letter? And who's it written to?
Which one?
that's probably Nancy.
Got everybody's name on it.
Yeah, that's Nancy did that, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, because I guess it's her,
Which?
Okay.
it's my packet. It was-
The 50/50 sidewalk program came about years and years and years ago when we got a $250,000 grant for sidewalk repairs. The city opted to, before I was chairman, it was, I think, either Bill Lees or a guy here before him. We decided to extend this money by paying up to 50% of the sidewalk repairs. The city would pay 50%, owner would pay 50%. And that went on for years until someplace along, technically, we should still have money in that program. But the money was swept out into some other program over the years, and now there's no more money in the program. So what the 50/50 program does now is they're budgeted in the city account to handle some of this. I think, my personal opinion is, I think this 50/50 program is valuable, and I think we should continue the program. But it should be a certain budget on the program. And when that budgeted money for the year runs out, that should be it for the year, and we'll have to tell people that. But the people that apply for this program should abide by the rules, which is we require 2 quotes. And then I decide, because I get all the sidewalk repair problems or questions, I decide which one to go to. Nancy then sends a letter to the homeowner and says, give you 50% up front, and then we let the contract out. And when the contract is done to our or my satisfaction, when it's done, I release the funds and Nancy pays the contractor. In some cases, we've let it slip by for one reason or another, that the homeowner was only able to get 1 quote and we let it go by. But I think we should really tighten the screws on that and say that the program requires 2 quotes. I don't care if you get a quote from outer space, but it requires 2 quotes from legitimate cement people to do this, because that allows us to contact the contractor and ask them to spare the roots of the tree by either shaving them down, not shaving them, arc the sidewalk into the yard, or hump it up and over the sidewalk bulbs, and do it that way and spare the roots of the tree. So that gives us some control over this. So I think, my opinion, I think we should keep the program, but when it runs out for the year, for the budgeted amount, that's it. We'll have to tell people we can't fund it this year, we can maybe fund it next year.
What was the budget this year, do you remember?
I don't remember what it was.
We should consider upping that.
It might be because we're running into this, not because people are finding out about us, but because as the trees age, more and more sidewalks get buckled. And it's not gonna go away. It's gonna just keep on doing it. And rather than have a free-for-all with contractors coming in and cutting roots out, as they did on Congress Street, you know, cut roots out of although he arced, in that particular one, they arced the sidewalk around quite a bit. They did destroy a lot of roots on that
On the
tree.
maple, yeah.
So on the, there's one
maple
sycamore
and a sycamore.
and one something else in there. So those trees are gonna be dying back. You're gonna get some.
Well, we did reduce the crown on the sycamore earlier in the spring, but
Yes.
that was before they chopped the roots. I think it should be reduced a little bit more. But,
Okay. We should watch that to see what the dieback is.
I mean, so far, that's been done, and we've had all this heat and drought, and it's,
Well, in the
It's not
heat
losing
and
any-
drought, the sycamore will, sycamores will drop leaves if it
Right,
gets
but
too
I'm
hot.
saying it's no worse
It'll
than
drop
the
leaves if it gets too cold. They'll
doesn't
drop
look like
leaves
it's
if it gets too
impacted.
dry. It'll drop leaves if it gets too wet. Sycamores just
oh, they
drop
shed
leaves
leaves
just
all
for the
year.
hell of it.
But I'm saying, this one doesn't look like it's had any kind of negative impact so far.
Yeah, okay.
We'll see how it leaves out in the spring.
Okay, are we, yes, anybody else have any comments on the 50/50 program?
I do. I think,
Yes.
I think this program has been abused in recent times.
It's been what?
Abused. I think
Yes.
people just don't even get to quotes, and then they're reimbursed anyway. So I think that has to be really clamped down on, because
I
I
agree.
think that's what's depleting the program. They don't care.
Well, we're not reimbursing these people.
Well, we have 1312 Ohio Avenue, which is a case in point. He indicated that at 624, that he wished to have concrete work done on the sidewalk and said it would contribute 50% of the cost. He, then on 6/5, wow, that doesn't make much sense. The work was done and sent the invoice. We're not going to pay, we didn't get it, they didn't follow the rules. And I don't think we're obligated to provide I don't think we're obligated to provide the money if he didn't get the two quotes and have us, although he used the contractor, Triano, that knows not to cut the roots. Triano, Carrot Top, Moore, the ones that normally do the concrete work around here know either to contact us if they have the question about roots, or enough not to shave the roots too much, or wind up, they'll arc it into the yard or hump it up and over. They're pretty good. Every once in a while, we'll get some concrete guy that doesn't do that, and we run into problems, like the one on Congress Street. So are we in agreement that we're not going to pay for 1312 Ohio Avenue? Because they just didn't follow the program at all.
And here's another thought I had, to measure out concrete, it's pretty simple. It's not that hard for a mason to give that quote, because you're really just basic measurements,
Right.
For materials and labor, So I don't think it's asking much to ask for two quotes.
No. Yes, no, I agree.
I was speaking with Aaron regarding this. We are required by state or law, whatever, to obtain two quotes. It's not just the second one.
Oh, that's good information.
So just so you know, we cannot pay unless we get two quotes. That's mandatory.
Just so the people know at home, Nancy mentioned it's a state law that says they have to have two quotes before the city pays them out.
So no pay for 1312 Ohio.
Maybe, Nancy, do you know the amount that was budgeted from the beginning of the year?
For the sidewalk, it was 15,000.
15,000, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're in agreement, 1312 Ohio Avenue, since we didn't get involved, didn't get the two quotes, and we didn't get a chance to inform the concrete guy what to do and what not on this tree. We're not going to be obligated to pay this.
Okay.
Okay, what else we have?
I have something I'd like to bring up.
I have
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you can go ahead first.
You sure?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Nancy sent me a request about a dead tree that's on the median on Cape May Avenue.
I went past that. That's on
It's
the,
on the
North
north
side.
side, and close to Pittsburgh Avenue.
okay.
Okay, and the tree's very dead. I
Is
think.
that just one of the willows?
Yes, and I think it was pruned maybe last
No,
year or
we
something.
pruned it this spring. They took some.
And it just, yeah. So, obviously, it's dead, but I read an article a while back about dead trees, and they said that if they're not a danger to anything,
Yeah,
that they're good to leave standing because insects get in them and find homes, and animals can,
right.
and woodpeckers and stuff like that. And I thought, most trees around Cape May, there's so much housing, but on Cape May Avenue, on that median, it's not in any danger, and maybe we could use it as like a test case to keep dead trees standing.
Wow, that's an interesting thought.
I don't know.
Bear in mind, I forget where it was, but there was a very old tree recently, and they had a big meeting there celebrating something, and the tree fell down. 6 people were in the hospital.
All right, take it down.
No, I mean, these things happen.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, the tree looks pretty sturdy. I didn't push it or anything.
Yeah, that still had leaves on it this spring, though.
This spring it did, but now it's like bare.
Well,
But I
why
just
don't we,
thought it
why
might-
don't you ask for the Meneer to assess the health of that tree, or viability of that tree,
You mean to
Oh,
let
I'm-
it stand?
But I mean, it's dead.
We'll
Oh,
just
you
see if
mean
it's
for it
completely
to,
to see if it's completely dead?
oh,
Yeah, because I
There's
said,
reasons why they don't use willow for lumber.
yeah.
They just use it for making wicker, that's about it.
For the lawnmower people, I went through the whole 4 blocks, just elevated everything, pruned whatever I could.
okay.
When we do have storms, though, don't they, Cape May Avenue, isn't that sometimes where they
That's true.
ask for parking, and they also ask for, like, if it happens during the summer, the lifeguard things?
Up and all the
go with
benches
that.
go up there and,
Yeah, that's true.
How how tall is the
oh, it's
thing?
tall.
It's 50, 60 feet
Yeah,
tall.
yeah.
I mean, you could say, let's just cut the thing off
Faster.
up 10 feet.
Well, I think first let's have Meneer take a look at
Look at it, yeah,
And
yeah.
see.
And the homeowner said
Put
it
the
was
request in.
unsightly. And I mean, it's not terribly attractive. I mean, it's,
I know, we've been
just-
whacking pieces off of that tree
yeah,
for years.
forever. Yeah.
And the rest of the willows to the west seem to be doing fairly well.
Much better, yeah. Okay, we'll do that.
I have something if I could bring it up. I was reading this letter to Dan Uffelman about a code enforcement. Now, they took down 2 trees that they weren't supposed to. The fine is $100 per tree, plus the equation of $27 times pi, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
How come this is not being enforced in this letter? So it shouldn't be 2 times $75, it should be 2 times $100. I had to look for the,
What, isn't our permit fee 75?
it is.
Okay.
So the code, it says right here, penalty, any person violating, blah, 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 took down the tree, $100, no more than the penalty for this chapter. Then the next, in Part B of this section, it says if you take down a tree illegally, you have to pay $27 times the diameter of the trunk, or what is it, the area of the trunk? I'll have to read this.
Diana,
The area of the trunk in square inches measured at 4.5 feet above the ground times 27.
Yes, I don't know what, it doesn't say in here what the, I remember that we lost 2 big trees in front of that house in a storm last year. We had to take them down after we went through a great deal of sidewalk replacement. And then the trees fell down, we had to redo the sidewalk. And then the trees in the backyard happened, and the owner was upset.
It's a different owner now.
It's a different owner, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, she sold the property
yeah,
to Dan Upland.
yeah.
They own the Queen Mary.
I just don't know why this is not what the code enforcer is trying to get back as penalty is not what the ordinance
Ordinance says.
reads.
That's what I said. And my other point is you can't just enforce that, on a whim. It's got to be consistently enforced,
Absolutely.
regardless of who the person is that.
And we also understand, we don't know exactly the size of those other trees to determine a cost, but I don't know, I don't want this person getting away with less than $200 for a penalty.
Well, I did speak to them, and I went back over after. I said, you agreed that you were going to tell your contractor that these 2 trees would remain. He swore to me up and down that he told the contractor, but see, we don't have that checks and balance system that West Cape May has, and that's the other thing.
Yeah.
We need to get both people's signature, like you just said, the contractor and the homeowner on the paper, and a copy needs to come back to the office prior to any work being done. Because if we don't have a record of that, how do we know the homeowner told the contractor? How do we know the contractor told the homeowner? We don't know anything. Because on that, when I wrote up the permission to take the 1 tree down, I said, but the 2 trees, holly and a cedar, must remain. And they were gone. So, he did agree, we're gonna plant a tree in the tree lawn in front of on the street. But I agree with you, still, somebody's gotta pay that.
I'm gonna go to the city manager and talk to him about this, see if he has any suggestions. Because again, we don't know what those other trees' value are, because we didn't ever measure them, but, they should just, at the minimum, pay $100 per tree for illegally taking them down. I don't,
Well, our ordinance now still says $75 a tree.
no, $75 for an application. This right here,
Take a tree down.
to take it down illegally, it's $100.
Right, yes, yes,
penalty.
yes.
So I don't know why this code enforcer is only trying to get 100.
I don't know either.
$150.
I
Well,
wouldn't,
not only that, but still, if you're talking about going through with that equation, I didn't measure those trees because they weren't supposed to come down, but, they were each about, whatever this is, at 5 feet high. They weren't a skinny little tree. They were a significant sized tree. So, they should certainly have some kind of value, even if we based it on the smallest tree, like if we based it on a 6-inch caliper. If nothing else, we should go with that then, since there was no measurement.
I totally agree with you. Or even at the minimal, the $27 that you start the equation from.
a 6-inch caliber is,
That's a cedar.
six-inch caliber trees is $763.
$763?
Yes, based on,
Holly and cedar, same value,
yeah, yeah,
763?
yes. If they're, the figure is they were 6-inch trees.
They were at least 6 inches.
4.5 feet up,
I don't have,
at $27 an inch, pi r squared.
okay.
6-inch, 3 times 3 times 3.14 times 27.
You got it off easy.
Wow,
Wow.
that's criminal.
That's the start of our tree bank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's $1,500.
Well,
That's,
that's
that's,
why
uh,
the code enforcer didn't know.
well, I want to make sure they do.
Well, I don't know, I have no idea what to do with this particular thing. The code enforcement, this is what they came up with.
Well, Shane just said he's gonna talk, you said you're gonna talk to him.
I'm gonna talk to the city manager, let him
Go back down to
work his
code
work
enforcement.
way down,
Okay. Trickle down
because
system,
he is the authority above us.
yeah.
What?
The city manager is the authority above the city, or, of the commission, so.
Okay. All right, I think we've accomplished just about everything.
Jay, I just have one more thing.
Yes.
When we talked before about the tree on Texas Avenue, 1302, I think everyone was going to go take a look at it, and then next meeting we'll make a decision.
Yes.
Okay, all right, I wasn't sure about that.
I was asked to bring up about the trees in Rotary Park above the bandstand, all the dead wood up on the top of
Yeah.
those big sycamore.
If it's in Rotary Park, not the street tree, but in Rotary Park, it's up to the people that are dealing with Rotary Park to remove that high dead wood up there.
The nonprofit.
It's a nonprofit. I mean, we don't deal with that. The mall
Right?
and Rotary Park, that's operated by the Business Improvement District on the mall
Right.
and by the nonprofit that does Rotary Park.
What are they called again?
Pardon?
I can't remember what the nonprofit's called.
It's,
Fun for Kate.
I forget what it is. Curtis Bashaw's involved.
Yeah, Fun for Cape May.
Yes.
Thanks.
I mean, we treat that just like he was a private homeowner. This is why we objected to when they came in and took that tree down. They wound up replacing a pretty sizable tree, just to the west of the fountain, closer to Lyle Lane. They put it was a linden. I think they put a
Worry about
linden.
this widow.
But this is the, is it the one just as you're facing the bandstand from the park? Is it the tree to the right, the sycamore to the right or to the left?
It's the Lafayette Street side.
It's to the Lafayette Street side. I think there's some dead wood in the one to the right also.
Probably, but somebody's gonna get, that's the widowmakers up there.
Yes, no, that's, yes.
I received an email from Nancy she said Public Works.
Right.
Wants these trees removed.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well,
Well, not the tree. They want to trim.
oh, she has, need to be removed.
Rusty asked for the dead wood, like the dead branches be trimmed.
Yeah,
Oh, that's it, just the dead wood. Oh, okay.
Way up on the top there.
So I guess I don't have to.
So Public Works is gonna be working on this, on,
No,
In
they
the park?
brought it, no, but we brought it, we're having a concern with it.
He brought it to our attention.
Okay.
He didn't want to do anything
okay,
with the shade tree.
okay.
So we're just
They wouldn't need
approving,
it.
Just don't even, they said it has to deal with it.
okay, so just ignore that, Nancy?
Yeah, I'll email him.
Who has to do with the fund for Kate?
Management, right?
Yeah, whoever the ones that, yeah. Yeah, we don't have any jurisdiction over the park.
So if
Okay.
something happens, they're the ones that get sued.
Matt, do you have anything you want to discuss?
Yes, I do. Should I come up there?
Yes. And you, sir,
I guess that's it, whatever.
and you are?
I don't want any,
Carl?
They hold a lot of events in there.
I've come here because I appear to have a
Magic
problem with
shows.
the tree out front. And I was told that I have to somehow get in touch with the shade tree.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Matt, you want to go first?
Yeah, Matt. All right. Mr. Ziegler, why don't you come on up? Have a seat here where we can see you.
I'll be quick.
And pull the microphone over there if you would, please. Yes, and you are?
Carl with a K, Ziegler, Ziegler.
Carl Ziegler, okay.
Okay, and I reside at 1122 Idaho Avenue.
Okay.
Okay, at the street between myself and my neighbor at 1128, there's a tree that is partially on his side of the property line, partially on mine.
This is street tree, correct? It's between the sidewalk and the curb.
Correct.
All right. What kind of tree is it?
A honey locust.
Locust, okay.
And already 2 or 3 times, things have fallen out of the tree, blocked the driveway so that I can't get in or out with my car.
Branches?
Branches.
Okay.
Okay, and I had someone come over and look at it, and they say, no, that's a city tree, we can't do anything with it, but the city has a contract with somebody who
Yes.
comes to trim the tree.
Yes.
and he said if I would ask to have the crown cleaned, raise the canopy, reduction cut over the driveway, and then balance the tree. I mean, the other thing is, even yesterday, I watched one of the Atlantic City electric trucks go down, hit the tree, pieces fell out of it, and
So it's hanging over the street that,
it's hanging over the street and my driveway.
okay.
But over the street, like I said, even whether it's delivery trucks or whatever, when they go by, they hit it. And that's why out front is pretty much a mess.
So basically elevate. Trey's got dead branches up there too, right? Dead wood?
There's some dead branches in it, but as he said, have the crown cleaned, raise the canopy, reduction cut, especially over the driveway, and then balance it out. So, I mean, right now, the one side is
Yeah.
more on my neighbor's property is bigger, but I have the big limbs that are right across the driveway, and with a couple of the big storms, well, I've had one that already blocked
Right.
long, and I mean,
Okay.
the city came
Now,
along.
that type of thing, you could just call our office, 9599, and just make that request that you don't have to waste your time coming in here, make the request that,
Okay, I didn't know how to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I mean,
That's-
I tried calling that number, and I didn't get an answer.
oh, did you leave a message?
No, I didn't, because nobody answered.
Oh, normally, okay.
Because I looked it up, in the
Yeah,
in the city. in the city.
9599, usually that's not just a shade tree number, that's for
Fire prevention.
fire code inspections and stuff. So there's generally somebody would be a message on that thing. So anyhow, we'll take care of that.
Okay.
I'll get, Manir is our contracted arborist for the city, and he does that work for us.
Okay.
So I'll make that mention for that, and we'll get right on that.
And like I said, I'm 1122. The tree is primarily on 1128, like my next-door neighbor, but it hangs over,
So
where
should
the
I put
property...
down for the address 1128?
Pardon me?
Should I put the address down 1128?
Well, I'm the one here. 1128, I've talked to the neighbor, the house has been willed to 5 grandchildren, and talking to somebody, it's
Right, difficult to do.
it's difficult to do.
Well, I'll
So,
just put down between 1122 and 1128.
right.
Okay.
And it's just, like I said, I'm worried that we get a storm, I'm gonna come out one day, I'm not gonna be able to get out my driveway. 'cause
Yeah.
I can't move. We had one already that me
Okay.
and my wife could pull out of the road. If one's bigger than that, it could be a bit of a problem.
Okay, no, we'll take care of it.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
I can't exactly say it's going to be the day after tomorrow, but we'll get it on the list. We'll
Okay,
do what we can. Thank you for coming in.
thank you very much, I appreciate it.
What did we decide to do with Mr. Hoffman?
He's gonna take it to
He's
the
got to
city
take it to
manager.
the city manager.
Okay.
I'm gonna bump up the fine,
You're gonna,
yeah,
okay.
if that's okay with everybody.
Yep.
All right, Matt, now, what do you want?
Ready?
Yes.
Matthew Notch, 295 Sixth Avenue, West Cape May. I'm also sit on the Shade Tree Commission in West Cape May. After listening to your meeting, I just wrote down a few notes so I didn't interrupt. I guess I'll just go down a list of things that I heard in the meeting that I want to comment on. One was to kind of expand on what Wayne Hoffman spoke on, is a permit process with tree removals in West Cape May, is that every tree removal application is given to Mickey Reagans, who is a licensed certified tree expert in New Jersey. And I heard you bring up Mr. Manier's name a few times, and I'm very friendly with Ron. Ron is neither an arborist illegally in the state of New Jersey or a tree expert in New Jersey. So as far as consulting purposes, you might want to be a little careful with having him legal consult on trees and give recommendations, although Ron has probably more practical experience than anybody in the county, and his family's had the tree experience. I know Ron has a lot of knowledge, just the licensing purpose. I mean, I'm a licensed arborist in New Jersey, and I have to keep my credits up, but even as an arborist, I'm not legally allowed to consult. You have to be consulting arborist, which means you have to be a certified.
Mickey is.
You have to be a certified tree expert in New Jersey. That's another credential. Mickey's really the only one. I think Dave Parker, Tree Works in Egg Harbor Township also has that. So I just wanted to touch on that. So we kind of use Mickey, since he's a tree expert, to look at every tree removal, and we have to pay him, I believe it's $50 every tree he looks at, and our permit fee is only $35 per tree. So in one tree case, city actually eats a little bit of money. If they ask for 2 trees, then the permit's $75, and I think Mickey just does a simple evaluation and charges like $50 every time. So it's a little give and take there. I mean, we talked about possibly upping our permit fee, which we haven't. But long story short, is Mickey does the evaluations. He gives us his recommendations and evaluation on a tree, and then as a group, we decide whether we want to allow the removal or not. And that gets any one individual out of any possible situation they might get stuck in, making a recommendation on a significant tree. And it really puts it on the arborist, the licensed arborist. Like, because Mickey doesn't say yes, remove, no. He will put it on there, like his recommendations, yes or no on a removal, based on what his thoughts are. And it's usually just the health of the tree and those concerns. But we ultimately make the decision based on like the homeowner's requests, Mickey's input, and
Right.
and as a group, we decide, yeah, they're reasonable people. They still have a lot of trees. They're willing to replant. You know, they made an effort to come in and talk to us. So that seems to be working really well. Sometimes it's, for lack of better terms, it's kind of idiotic. Sometimes we have trees that are completely dead. And I'm like, why are we going to pay Mickey $50 to come look at a dead tree? And then we can get 2 members from the shade tree to go out and say, yeah, it's dead. Why are we going to have Mickey drive from Egg Harbor Township to look at a dead tree? So, I mean, we still have the ability, or emergency removals. Wayne talked on briefly, like we can approve emergency removals on the spot. But, you know, since I'm a contractor, I got to walk a fine line. So a lot of times I just, I kind of will call other people from, like if I want, this tree's dead and needs to come down now, like I'll have to get 2 other members to come look at that and agree and make a decision. So, I mean, we have some flexibility there, but generally Mickey does our evaluations, and then we do the meeting once a month and vote on it. That's just food for thought. I know you work differently, but it is good having Mickey. I think they were worried about liability, and I know Shade Tree, you're covered under.
Who's worried about liability? Westgate, man?
I think some members were, even though we're covered under some of the Shade Tree stuff. I think no one really wanted to get too involved as a volunteer in a Shade Tree to say yes or no decisions on maybe historic or significant trees. So they just decided, like, Mickey's going to evaluate every tree. And technically, you're supposed to even look at dead trees, but sometimes we'll, you know, if it's a hazardous situation and Mickey can't get here tomorrow because he's a busy guy in Egg Harbor, we can still go and say, yeah, it's a dead tree. It needs to come down right away, and the contractor gets approval to do it.
Can
How
I
do they
pose a
get
question
removal?
in there? Can I pose a question in there?
Yeah, sure.
Especially since you mentioned liability.
Yeah.
Let's say a tree is on one person's property. It's leaning. It looks like it's a hazard to whether it's a garage or a back porch or another one's house itself. How do they resolve these things? Being that a lot of times these neighbors say, well, gee, I'll help pay for the removal of the tree, but then they see the price and then they balk. And it's usually big trees that you're looking at. Have you run into this in West Cape, May?
I run into it everywhere all the time.
Yeah?
If there's nothing in writing, it's an act of God. God forbid anything happens. But in general, I mean, you have to have a consulting arborist, tree expert in New Jersey, and I mean a few other people. You have to have them do a tree evaluation and have a certified letter sent to your neighbor or that party, and have something in writing. They still don't have to act upon it, but my understanding is they don't have to act on it. But then if something happens, there was something in writing prior to the event, right? The tree falling, damaging something, let alone killing somebody. and that homeowner's insurance or those individuals would sue their neighbor, you know. So they're, usually the homeowner's insurance, your homeowner's insurance will go after your neighbor's homeowner insurance if they were notified. Because, I mean, they should act on it, but you can't make them do that. You can only notify them, legally notify them by an article,
Right.
say, you have a hazardous situation, you really should do something. They'll be like, they can take it or leave it. But if something happens, they're gonna be liable, because they were notified. If they're not notified in writing, it's an act of God.
Right.
I mean, probably 90% of the time, it's an honest mistake, I think. I think people really don't realize they have a hazardous tree, but not always, for sure. I mean, people definitely, I think, know sometimes, they just, it's fine, it's been like that.
I mean, some people look at this, I say, well, what happens if you contact some of the insurance people? Because we have people that say, my insurance company said that we should do something. And they mention that in regard to street trees and everything. And I think Ron brought it up. He says, then he said, oh, can I see a copy of that letter from the insurance company? Oh, no, it was a phone call. You know, it was basically bull. It was just a lie. But, you know, he said it. I think that, you know, a lot of times if an insurance company is contacting, all they'll do is just drop the insurance for the whole property.
They usually give them a certain time period to get the work done.
Yeah.
And as long as they're moving forward with estimates, a lot of times they'll give extensions. You know, going back to the Ron thing, like, I'm very friendly with Ron, even though he's, and it's, the licenses have changed in the last more recent years in New Jersey. You have to be a tree expert to consult, but my parents live at 1115 Washington Street, and before I moved back, I want to say maybe 20 years ago, they had a huge tree from the Lafayette Street side fall into their property, and it smashed, took their garage out. Like, it's a lot of damage. Ron Muneer did tree work for my parents the year before, or even that year, and he noted that tree was dead, and they told the neighbors in Lafayette, you really should take care of this. They never did. Nothing in writing, anything. Tree fell that year, next year, and it had severe damage to my parents' property. Ron actually went and wrote a letter to the insurance company or whoever and said that, you know, we notified the neighbors last year when I was doing tree work. I'm a legit tree company. Their homeowner's insurance had to pay for it. So I don't know if it's different now just because you're technically supposed to be a licensed tree expert, but I mean, Ron's been in business long enough, and I think if you're a legit business and you notice that, you probably could go to bat for a client or something, but yeah.
Okay, all
I
right.
don't know if that helps.
Yeah, it does.
I don't want to beat that one up too much in the head, because I know we're all just trying to move in the right direction on that. I mean, the Westgate May ordinances constantly change too, I feel like. Construction damage on Congress Street. I know George, you were just mentioning that the trees look fine now. Just food for thought, construction damage usually doesn't show up 2 to 4, 3 to 5 years after it's done. So that the sycamore tree and that maple tree that have severe root damage, they're both probably going to die at some point.
This is the one on Congress Street?
The corner of Congress and Claghorn.
Yes.
329.
They'll probably start declining in the next couple of years. They'll probably look fine for the next year or two.
Well, the maple was starting to decline. prior
Yeah,
to-
and that's kind of a problem, because you see that with new construction, and Wayne was kind of getting at that, like a lot of our trees that we're losing in West Cape are construction damage. And then the project's done, the contractor washes their hands of it, they sell the proper trees, look great, then they all end up dying in like 2 or 3, 4 years. And then we all get called in as tree care operators and like, oh, what are you gonna do? Like, we can't do anything, your trees are dying, all the roots were damaged. So anyway, I just wanted to make note of that, the construction damage usually a few years after the fact, because trees will survive off a lot of their stored carbohydrates and sugars for the first year or two, but at a certain point, they'll just start declining because they don't have enough resources.
Okay.
And then I got an email on my phone, I don't know if this is the right place to bring it up, but the lady's last name's Dempsey, and she just emailed me yesterday and said something that the Shade Tree Commission denied a permit for a evergreen magnolia. Last name's Dempsey. And the reason I'm only bringing this up, I don't care what happens, but she's like asking, what's the appeal process? So if someone's denied a permit in Cape May, should they come to the next monthly meeting and appeal it in
They
person?
can come to the next meeting and talk to the people, that her recourse then is the city manager. If they disagree with our decisions and whatnot, they can bring it before the city manager. It doesn't like our our decision on the thing, bring it to the city manager.
So let me ask you, what is I don't know anything about this.
I don't either.
Oh, is it a removal or a planting?
She
or-
just emailed me, I don't even know the address, she said she lives in Cape May, her last name's Dempsey, and she was recently denied a permit request to remove a dying, in her words, dying and diseased evergreen magnolia, and she wants an arborist to come evaluate the tree to see its health.
That's up to her.
Yeah.
She wants to get an arborist to evaluate it, fine.
Yeah.
We'll see what he says, and
And that's just for knowledge for me and other contractors, like if they're denied, then they don't come back to the shade tree to appeal it, they should go to the city manager for an appeal?
well, I think it would have to come back to the shade tree with the arborist report.
Okay.
I would
I'm just
think.
gonna refer to Mickey,
Okay.
because he's gotta do it, because council anyway.
You know,
Now, we don't routinely,
I don't know that this person even contacted the Shade Tree Commission, because usually Nancy will send like an email out saying, we have this person requesting removal of this tree, unless it's somebody's district that's not here.
Nancy would know. And last but not least, I have not submitted this permit yet, and this kind of hits the head of the nail when I was talking about like significant trees possibly being removed in Cape May. I'm from Cape May, I grew up in Cape May, I hate seeing large old specimen trees being removed. I am submitting a permit request to remove a 66-inch wide silver maple tree. That's probably
Where?
66-inch wide, that's like about 5.5 feet wide at 4.5 feet off the ground. It's on 1043 Michigan Avenue. Homeowners are Bill and Ann George, very, very nice older couple. They're very upset about losing this tree. They've had this tree pruned probably, prior to me, they said at least 3 times. I've pruned it, cut it back twice because of significant decay. It is directly behind the tennis courts. If you're at the Physic Estate, the tennis courts there, it's pretty much in the middle of the tennis courts. There's a clay court. If you're looking directly towards the ocean, you'll see the tree. It's in severe decline. Whoever goes to look at this tree, I looked at this, and we worked on this tree about a year ago, and we cut it back as significantly as we can without ruining a tree. I never noticed the decay that I noticed this last time. All the buttress roots, which are structural roots, and the house side tree are all dying, and you'll see sawdust all around the bottom. They did say they had some roots cut years ago, like 20 years ago, and I don't know if finally it worked its way in, but the roots on the house side of the tree are completely dead. There's major decay in the canopy. You'll see like a black fungus up and down the side of the tree, which is a sign of decay. I recommend a removal.
What's the address on Michigan?
1043 Michigan Avenue.
1043.
Yeah.
Not, was this anything involved? There's been a lot of construction on that side of the street.
No, nothing. They had
What-
some
can you
papers put about
describe
20 years ago.
What's the house look like?
It's a single-story rancher. They got a concrete driveway that's like checkerboard that goes into the property. I don't know if you know you probably know where the Porters live.
Yes,
And then the house to the left of the Porters is,
right, I know, that's brand-new construction, because they moved that, yeah.
no, it's not.
Next to Porter's right
That's the
now
other-
is new
no, that's the other
construction.
side.
No,
Next to Porter's.
no, who is?
No, that's down next to
Oh my
Little
gosh, my
Onions.
brain's not working. What's his name?
Ferrante House?
Ferranti? Yeah,
They got the dog, yeah.
yeah, so it's Porter's, Ferranti's is the house to the left of them. But there's no,
Left of Ferrante's?
next to them. I actually used their backyard to get my lift to this tree last year. So
So you're going to submit this application?
I am, and the only reason I even brought this up, because it's such a big tree. If anybody was looking at it, they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, can we do anything with it? I can't do anything else to the tree. It can't be, there's so much decay at the base of the tree. I recommend a removal, as sad as I was to give that recommendation. I don't really wanna cut it down. They don't wanna cut it down, they don't wanna spend like $4,000 to $5,000 removing it, and because we have to bring a crane into the tennis courts. It's gonna be a nightmare to get
And
this.
you can't, there's no way to get anything in between the tennis court fence and the tree, right? Because that's all wetlands.
So it's in
Pretty
the
s-
backyard of that house.
It's in the backyard. But I just wanted to bring that up because it's such a big tree. Someone's gonna look and it's like 66 inches wide. That's like 5.5 feet wide. They're gonna think I'm crazy. It's literally 5.5, 6 feet wide at 4.5 feet off the ground.
Wow.
It was probably the biggest silver maple in Cape May that I'm aware of, at least one of them for sure. They said it's been slowly dying back for years though. But
Once you admit the application, we'll take a look at it. Let me know when you go. All right.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody's hard
Thank you
work.
for your suggestions. and whatnot. Yeah, we don't use Mickey Riggins except for an exceptional thing, not just on a
Right.
normal basis. All right, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right, does anybody have anything more? Thank you, Matt. Organization?
I just want to say that what Matt mentioned earlier about having the licensed professional from the state,
Yes,
that's also in their ordinance. Just mentioned.
in the
In
Westgate.
Westgate May's
Right,
ordinance.
okay.
So,
have to have-
did I understand that Ron is not licensed? He's not a,
No, he's a license to remove trees, trim trees, but he's not a licensed arborist.
oh, gotcha. Okay,
So Ron has the same certification as I do, as every contract in New Jersey has to have him. It's a licensed LTCO, licensed tree care operator. So as a licensed tree care operator, we can do tree removals, we can do planting, pruning, obviously, stump removal, and that's it. I mean, technically, you have to be a licensed tree care expert to do consulting.
consulting and to evaluate the,
Evaluations, consulting,
Okay.
plant healthcare, chemicals.
Gotcha.
So Mickey
We've
does
used,
all.
I've used Ron just to come in and take a look and say, is this tree dead or dying or something like that? But we've used Mickey Riggins then for assessment of the trees on Congress Street and also viability of this tree on South Broadway and stuff like that. But,
And honestly, I kind of agree with Jay there, like, there's some stuff that it frustrates me, or why are we calling him Mickey for this? We all know it's dying, why are we
Yeah,
gonna
so
spend
why?
money and have him go out his way, he's a busy guy, and we're gonna spend city money, and, but that was the vote, I was one of the few that didn't vote for that. They
gotcha,
wanted Mickey to do every tree, evaluate every single tree,
gotcha. Okay.
unless it's emergency.
Well, I do want to say, I have Mickey every year, he comes to my property. There is a little, I mean, I'm scheduled, and I know lots of times he's so busy that it could be maybe a month or two before he gets time to get to you. So that's,
Wow.
Yeah, I like your new permit too, because I haven't filled it out. The last time I filled it, I didn't remember a contractor.
Yeah,
or
we
chain at the
just
bottom.
added that, yeah.
That's good. So that'd be really simple, just have to put your license number on here. Because the first time I ever even put my personal business information on there, but just having the line in for your licensed tree care operator.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay,
I would just like to say that tree is in my territory, and Jay, you will come with me?
Yes.
Okay, because
yeah.
What tree
sounds
is
like it's a
this?
sizable tree.
Once you get the
Tree on Michigan.
the
I think it's what you're talking
application.
about.
Oh, it's on, Ruth Ann, it's on your area? Oh,
And
I
see,
wasn't
there's
sure
been-
whether
there
it was
has
mine
been-
or not.
Between that whole area, there's been a lot going on, and
Yeah, we were there a couple of times. There was an application, and the guy wanted to put in a line of evergreen trees to block his backyard view of
The tennis
the
court?
duck pond.
Oh, the,
no,
The matter-
actually, he did want to block the view of the basketball court.
Yes, I'm
Oh.
sorry, when they put the basketball
Basketball
court
court.
in there, they wanted to block the view of that, not the duck pond, but the basketball court, across the pond. And so we just finally got a plot plan from him, we gave him permit to put trees in. He hasn't done it, but,
Usually with basketball courts is noise.
well, that's what they were concerned with the noise. And,
There's a
and,
camp there all summer with
Yeah,
multiple
they
little children, so.
and the cheering, because, they would do a wave and everything.
I think they should ban that game cornhole.
Oh,
Those people have the biggest mouth. Because some little beanbag went through a hole.
you have to get a book on cornhole etiquette.
I will
We just call
entertain,
the cops.
Just go.
Portable, like you take it, you go, you know.
What I wish they would ban are the leaf blowers.
Oh,
Yeah.
They are so loud, and you know what, the lawns on my street are all so small. So I don't treat my lawn with any chemicals, I don't have everything natural. And the other lawns, one on one side and one across the street, they're doing fertilizer, they're doing weed and feed, they're doing all these kind of chemicals, and then they cut the grass, and they blow all that onto my yard. So it like defeats the purpose of me trying to be, environmentally correct. But I know there's a lot of towns that have banned those.
Oh, really?
Yeah, especially in northern Jersey, because of the noise and because of that, you know, but
You know what they need?
I don't even know who you bring that up to,
I mean,
environmental commission.
landscapers can't go to one place and
All right.
another place.
I'll
They
enter,
have a little gas engine.
I will
That's all they need
entertain,
on my street.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. We got a lot accomplished today, so, and we'll get together and,
Well, we're gonna- yeah, we'll have to
and
come up with
start
a
going
date.
over this, all right? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion. to-
George?
Second.
And seconded by Mark. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You need the folders back, though, right?
I need the folders back.
I'm gonna bring these, oh, there she is, I don't have to go over.
I've got to take a bunch of stuff into Nancy. All right.